Consumer Credit Counseling Service. Yeah, it's the worst name, but that's right. It is. An S's and yeah.
But definitely credit is something that's very, very important, and each and every one of you will be affected with that when you get into your jobs and your life and everything else. I'm sure pretty much every one of y'all are kind of affected with it now. Very good presentation. I think y'all will be very pleased. And because we don't have a whole lot of time, we're going to let Richard go ahead and get started.
Great. Thank you, Lance. Y'all, let's start by giving Lance a round of applause for setting this up and providing pizza and drinks and all that. Appreciate that. So as Lance said, I'm Richard with Consumer Credit Counseling Service, and we're going to talk about credit today. I've got about an hour and a half worth of stuff to do in about 50 minutes, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to move pretty quickly. Let me point out a couple things to you. Did everybody get a yellow packet? All right, go ahead and write your name on it. They all look the same, and I want to make sure you've got this resource. Everything we'll talk about today is in this packet, so you can refer back to this as needed. I find people forget about 99% of the stuff we talk about in these workshops, but as long as you've got this, you're good to go. I do want to point out on the back of your packet, we have a voucher. Today's all about knowledge, about learning more about credit, but we also offer one-on-one sessions, individual sessions that are all about you. So you can come in and review your credit report, get your score. That's free. You get a personalized action plan from one of our certified counselors, and they're happy to do that. Our closest office is in Statesboro. We'll also do phone appointments if that works as well. I brought everybody a pen. Yay, you can't say I didn't give you anything. You're welcome. All right. So, and then probably if you're sitting on the first two rows, I know you have a clicker. If you're sitting behind the first two rows, I can't guarantee them. There are about 20 of them out there. Does anybody sitting next to somebody, like there's a clicker there, if we could pass these to the folks in the back and maybe y'all can kind of team up. There are about 20 clickers out there. We're going to play some Jeopardy, so I'm going to ask you some questions about credit, and you're going to be able to do that. So if y'all wouldn't mind just passing, you've got that one. If you would you mind passing one of these back? I'll just make sure. Do y'all have one in this back corner? All right. All right. This is your team leader. Okay, good, good. Excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in when we're going to talk about credit. So this is what we're going to do today, y'all. We've got 4 different things we're going to hit. We're going to talk about how do you pull your credit report for free. We're going to practice in the workshop reviewing a credit report. So if you're brand new to credit or you're an old pro, you're going to be able to team up with somebody, and we're going to review a sample credit report today in the workshop. I'm going to give you some tools on how you dispute errors. 1 in 4 of us have errors on our credit report. That means 10 to 15 possibly people in this room have errors on their report and don't know it. I'm going to give you tools of what you can do to dispute those and get those corrected. Then we're going to do what goes into the magical 3-digit credit score. And then when we finish up, we're going to talk about how do we develop a plan, whether it's to manage credit we've got, build credit from scratch, or rebuild credit. Does this sound like a pretty good game plan? Good. 6 people. All right. Does this sound good? All right, good. Let's go ahead and jump in with our clickers. So if you're fortunate enough to have a clicker, go ahead and pull that up. If you're not, team up with somebody close to you that has one. I think on that 3rd row I put like 3 or 4. I don't know about my folks in the back. I know these guys have one. Does anybody else have one on the back row? Excellent. All right, if y'all could team up with the people around you. So, y'all, the way the clickers work, when I ask you a question, you're just going to correspond with the number on here at the clicker. You're going to aim it at me, not at me, or at the screen, but at the computer. It's going to record your answer in real time. It's totally anonymous, so if you don't know an answer, just guess, okay? We won't know if you get it right or wrong. Once your clicker goes in, it's going to flash green when it gets your answer. If it flashes red, that means the battery's starting to die on me, and just let me know. And unfortunately, I do need these back. We're a small nonprofit, and these won't work on your TV remote anyway. So let's go ahead and I'll read all the questions because these got chopped off a little bit. But the first question is, credit does not affect our savings rates, our insurance premiums, renting, or employment. So you're going to click 1, 2, 3, or 4, aim it at the computer, and then when you click it, make sure you get a green flash in the upper left-hand corner. And I'm thinking we've got 20 responders out there. So point at the computer up there. It'll get your answer there. And again, look for that green flash. We've got 17. Let's see if we can get the, oh, all right, you guys are fast. All right, we're waiting on, I think, one more click. Is anybody's clicker not flashing green for them? What color is it flash? Go ahead, click it again. Yep, you're good. All right, we got 20. All right, so everybody's clicker works. Let's see how we did on this first question. So the most popular answer was savings rates. Where's Lance? Did he leave? Sharp group, Lance. 45% of the group said savings rates. If you said savings rates, that's correct. So let's break this down. What this means is any of us can go into our bank or our credit union, regardless of our credit score, and get the, 0.001% they're paying on savings accounts right now? These other things are not so. Our credit, anybody see the Consumer Reports article about 6 months ago? The number one factor that affects our car insurance premium is not our age or our driving history, it's our credit score. Same with homeowners insurance and life insurance. Renting, only one person put that. Anybody notice landlords now pulling credit reports as part of the process, either denying people to get it or charging more of a deposit? And the last one's employment. Recent study showed 47% of employers are pulling credit reports as part of the process. Now, I can do a whole other class on whether that's fair or not, but I want to make sure that y'all understand it could be affecting all these different aspects of your life. Good. The next question. Your credit score includes your income, your debit card, your available credit, or all the above. Click 1, 2, 3, or 4, aim it at the computer, and look for that green flash. All right, you guys are getting fast with those clickers now. All right, we're only waiting on one team or person. All right, you guys were getting real fast. All right, you guys are, all right, I just learned something else about this group. You're really good test takers. All right, if you see all the above, it's usually the right answer, right? In this case, the correct answer is actually available credit. So let's talk about that. So your income is not factored in to your credit score. So if you're in school full-time right now and not working, that is not impacting your credit score. Your debit card, when you swipe your debit card, they don't report that to the credit reporting agencies. The one thing out of these four that does affect your score is your available credit. And let me tell you what I mean by that. So I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, big game tonight, and let's say I get really excited about that game, and I go to Walmart and buy a bunch of snacks and things like that. Before I do, I get y'all give me a bank we can pick on. Wachovia, now Wells Fargo. Okay, so Wells Fargo comes out with a new super duper credit card, and I apply for it, and it's a $300 limit. And tonight I go to Walmart and put on that card $299 worth of snacks and drinks to have everybody over my house. Do I have any available credit on that card? No, and that has lowered my credit score. Me having available credit is going to raise my credit score. Does that make sense, everybody? Good. All right, so what website can we go to pull our credit report? Freecreditreport.com, creditscore.com, annualcreditreport.com, or freecreditscore.com. Where can I get it for free? Credit Karma's not on there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, we're waiting on 6 responses, 4 responses. 3, 2, 1. Boom. All right, y'all are fast. All right, so let's see how we did. We had a little bit of a split decision. It looks like most people said free credit score. Some people said free credit report. That makes sense because free is in the name. The correct answer is actually annualcreditreport.com. Free is not in the name, but it's the one place that you can actually get it for free. And we'll talk about that in a second. But has anybody tried any of the other sites up here? You know, when you go to it and the first thing it asks you to do is enter your debit or credit card information. What is that called when somebody says something is free and then charges you for it? Scam, a lie, false advertising. Yes, all the above. And some of these companies are getting sued because they're not really free, right? We'll talk about more about annual credit report in a second. So I'm just curious how many people in here have pulled their credit report in the last 12 months. This is you yourself, not a family member or a friend or a car dealer, you yourself. And if you're on a team, if anybody in your group has not, put no. So this one, you're either clicking 1 for yes, 2 for no. All right, so 60% of the group, you guys are way above average there. 40% has not. What's your homework assignment if you have not? Good. Pull your credit report, and I'm going to show you how right now. So you can pull your clickers away, put your clickers away for a few minutes, and if you would, turn to your packet, in your packet, to page 6. Everybody turn to page 6 in your packet. And look at that first paragraph. And y'all, the website annualcreditreport.com is so important. We list it twice in the first paragraph. So I want you to circle that or underline it or put stars next to it, highlight it, however you can to make sure it stands out. Annualcreditreport.com is the one place the federal government says we have the right to see all 3 of our credit reports every year for free. So this is the website you go to. I want to point out a couple things. I took a screenshot of it because you know what happens when you Google stuff. It takes you about 10 other sites that aren't the one you're looking for. So it should look like this site. At the top left corner, it says HTTPS. Does anybody know what that S means? Good. Secure. That means you're about to enter some personal information you want to make sure is protected. So the first thing you're going to do on this site is click this red button. And then it's going to take you to a page that looks just like it. You're going to click the red button again. Once you do that, you're going to enter all your personal information, and then you're going to look at the bottom of the page. It's got one of those CAPTCHA codes. Y'all know what I'm talking about? The 2's look like S's and the 1's look like L's and all that. This one's all capital letters. Okay, so a little tip there. It's all capital letters, and then at the bottom of the page, click Next. Because if you click Enter, it's going to think you want to hear your code, and if your computer doesn't have speakers on it, you're going to have to shut the whole thing down and start all over. All right, so click the red button at the bottom of the page, and it's going to say, which credit report do you want to pull, Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion? And what's the right answer? Man, I love this group. All 3, that is exactly correct. Why don't I just want to pull Equifax? Because they're out of Atlanta. Exactly right. Did everybody hear? Companies don't report everything to all 3. And so, example, I used to have a Capital One credit card that only reported to Experian. So when I pulled Equifax and TransUnion, I wouldn't even see it on there. So for you to get your full credit picture, I want you to see all 3 credit reports. And that's every 12 months for free. So is there any reason to pay for it? No. Now it's going to ask you some security questions. If you get one of those wrong, and be careful, they can be really tricky. If you get one of those wrong, it's going to say, you have to pay for it, you have to mail something in, or you have to do X, Y, and Z to get your report. I've also put the phone number, which is toll-free, in that first paragraph. The very back of your packet, I gave you that voucher, but 1 page right before that, it doesn't have a page number because we want you to use this if you need it. It says G1 at the bottom right. At the top, it says Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. This is the annual credit request form through the mail. So you can get it. My favorite way is internet, right? It's instant. You can print it right there. You can save it. You've got it right there. My second favorite way is to call them and order it. It takes about 2 weeks, and they'll mail it to you. My third favorite way is snail mail, where you mail it in, and then they mail it back. But I still want you to know that whatever obstacles or anything you run into where you can't pull it, you got 3 ways you can pull it, so there's never a reason to pay for your report. Now, does everybody live in the state of Georgia? So in the state of Georgia, in addition to the federal law, we have a really cool state law. Our state law says you get additional copies of each one of your credit reports every year for free. So I had a lady this summer that was paying $15 a month to her bank for credit monitoring service. And she said, you mean to tell me I can get 9 reports a year myself for free? Yes, you can if you live in the state of Georgia. The first 3 you get through annual credit report. After that, look a little further down the page on page 6. You can see the numbers for Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You call them, let them know. Our Georgia state law says we get additional credit reports. Mail it to you, take about 2 weeks. She was really happy because she could put $15 back in her pocket every month, right? So any questions about how to pull your credit report for free? Everybody got it? Cool. All right, well, let's move on and practice reviewing a report. So what we're going to do is, and let me say this, y'all, whether your credit report is like 1 page or 111 pages, it's got 5 parts to it. The 5 parts are listed behind me. They're personal information, public record, collection accounts, credit accounts, and inquiries. So what we're going to do is answer 5 questions. We're going to review a credit report and answer 5 questions. That's one from each section. So the first thing I want you to do is team up. So grab some teammates around. Don't grab anybody, but get some teammates around you and circle up, team up, and try to do at least groups of 2. You can do groups of 3, 4, depending on your sitting, whatever's easiest for you. Just don't leave anybody out. It's a good opportunity to meet somebody new or say hey to an old friend. Once you've got a teammate, go ahead and say hey to them. Don't leave him out in the back, y'all. I don't want anybody getting left out. All right, good. He's on your team? No, we don't want you ignored. And so once you're on a team, what I'd like for you to do is assign roles in your group. I want one person in the group to be the writer. So you got to write down your team's answers. Once you've got your writer, then I want you to assign the other role in the group, which is the spokesperson. I love it. Y'all see what I did writers first, right? So I want to identify all the groups out there. So writers, I want you to raise your hand with the hand that you write with. Some lefties, good. All right, good. Spokespeople, I want you to raise your hand and say yes. Yes. Good. Warm up those vocal cords. All right. So y'all, we're going to take 5 minutes. And we're going to work on page 7, 8, 9, and 10. So this is an actual sample credit report from which credit reporting agency? Good, Experian. So this is a sample credit report from Experian. The only difference you'll see on yours and this one, all this writing on the right-hand side, that's just because it's a sample. When you pull your own, you won't see all that stuff on there. The other thing is, whose credit report is this? Good, John Q. Consumer. Y'all can pretend that's me and everybody's helping me review my credit report. And what we're going to do, y'all, is answer 5 different questions about this report. So the answers are on here. The first question, now I'm going to review them first, and then I'm going to give you 5 minutes to work on your group and answer them. Now, what I'm going to do in the in the prep process, though, I'm going to give you a little tip. So if you're the writer in the group, make sure you're writing down the tips that I'm giving you. The first question, letter A, is what personal information items are listed on this credit report? Don't look for the answer now, but make sure, and I'll leave the questions up there, but make sure you know the tip is the answer is not on page 7. Don't look for it yet, just know it's not on page 7. Letter B, the question is the public record paid? The answer is straightforward. It's either a yes or a no, but I also want to know how you found that information. Don't look for the answer, just make a note to your group, yes or no. This one, there's one collection account on this credit report. What is the recent balance? So here I'm looking for an amount. I want a number. So you're going to find the one collection account and then find the number. Again, don't do it yet, just make yourself a note. D, there are two types of credit accounts. What are they? So that's that one. The answer is, the key to that question is TYPE. Look for the word type when you're reviewing the report. And then the last one, I'm sorry, it's chopped off. You might want to write this one down. It says, which inquiries affect my credit score? So let me tell you this. There are 2 types of inquiries. I want to know which ones on this report are going to reduce or lower my score. Are there any questions about the 5 questions we're about to answer or anything we're about to do? We've got 5 minutes. Use this report. Raise your hand if you got questions, and I'll come over and help your group. On your mark, get set, go. 5 minutes. What's that? Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. If your group has any questions, just raise your hand. Can I get a packet? I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You got it.
Hey, sir.
You have a question? Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes.
All right. Which one are y'all on?
C.
C. Okay. Have you found the collection account yet?
That's the one
Okay.
we're looking for. Where am I going to?
Keep going. So you're on the right page.
I'm on the right page.
Uh-huh. So look for the one collection account on that page.
Account number? Right here.
No.
Should it be this?
Uh-uh.
Collection.
Okay, where'd you find it?
Right here.
Good. So this, everybody see that's main collection agency?
Mm-hmm.
So now I want you to find the recent balance
The receipt.
and tell me how much is owed on that account.
$95 past due.
You're welcome. Again, if you have questions, raise your hand. Let's see. Y'all finished? You work fast. Good. Yeah, please.
Whenever it says the public record,
Mhm.
right up under here, it
Mhm.
says civil claim paid. So that's yes, right?
But you got it. That's
Okay.
exactly right. Yes, ma'am.
Collection
Yeah.
recent balance. Is that gonna be any?
You're on the right account.
We got
So that's
Okay.
there's one
95.
collection account. That's
Okay.
it.
But then is-
95.
you got $95 here, but then down here it says didn't pay anything and owes 3228.
Yeah, that was the
date,
high
and that
balance.
date is August of 12, and that is April of 12.
So
So this
look-
is later.
So look at the difference here. This is one account. This is the difference.
That's in
These are
good
accounts in
standing.
good standing.
Yeah,
So
don't
this
owe
one is
any.
a car loan, and then this one, I believe, is a credit card. If it says, well, yeah,
Revolving.
that one's a credit
So
card.
it's gonna be 95.
So those are two different
$95.
accounts. This is your collection account,
Yeah.
and what you
it's
say it again?
$95.
That's right. That's
Got
right.
that.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sorry.
How can an account be resolved before it's filed?
Show me.
Where did it go? Date filed, October of 12. Date resolved, March of 12. Updated, April of 12.
April of 12. That's a good catch. We did, that's funny because this is just from Experian's website, so they obviously,
Messed up.
yeah,
See,
that's
this
a good
was not
catch.
Wednesday.
I know, good.
That
I knew I was in the right place. All right, let's take one more minute, and finish up, and then we'll share. Hey. You got it.
We was just talking and he was asking about how do you get your credit score? I used to stay online, both of us used to stay on Credit Karma.
Yeah, we'll talk about Credit Karma when we get to the credit scoring, and when Credit Karma is good and when it's not as helpful. So good. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. Thank you. Okay, all right.
Where it says collection recent
Uh-huh.
balance.
Did you find the collection account first? Good, you're on the right page.
Okay. Would it be like over here
Uh-huh.
again?
So this is the one collection account, see main collection agencies, and then you're right on that. You got it. That's right. All right, ding, 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 ding. Go ahead and wrap up where you are. And even if you're not finished, we'll have time to share and hear from other groups. I think the best way to do it, y'all, is to take turns. So if your group wants to take a stab at an answer, and then if every other group will listen and see, A, did they get it right? B, do we have any questions or need to dig a little bit deeper? Okay? So which group would like to volunteer to answer letter A? Thank you. So look at this brave group over here. Okay. So and she's standing. This was awesome. What's your name? Kayla? Kayla. All right. Kayla, y'all, is going to answer letter A. I want everybody to listen and see if Kayla's group got it right. So what personal information items are listed on this report?
Name, his ID, his social security number, his year of birth, his spouse, his employer, and his telephone number.
All right. Let's give Kayla's group a round of applause. Excellent. All right. Did Kayla's group miss anything? Okay. We got addresses. Anything else? Type of residence, okay. Good. Now, they get a clap for effort. Good, that's good. All right, so, yeah, you're right. You guys got it, and then you added a couple. That's good. So the reason, y'all, I have you start with personal information, even though on 2 of the 3 credit reporting agencies, it's in the back, right? And by the time we were little kids, we were taught you start with the first page and read to the back. When you review your credit report, I don't want you doing that. I want you flipping right to personal information for 2 reasons. One is, y'all, it's the easiest part to review. Everybody can recognize their name and their address. It's also where most of the errors are. So I want you to go ahead and address them, find them, and we'll get started working on fixing those. So personal information, when I'm talking about errors, I'm seeing addresses that aren't yours. Names, if you're a junior and it's got senior's name on there, that's an error. We don't want that. All right? Most of the errors are in the personal information section. Any questions about that? All right, so let's move on to B. Which group would like to answer B? This one's a yes or no. Thank you. Another brave group back here. Let's set the precedence to stand, so that's good. We're all going to stand. So this one I'm looking for a yes or a no.
And the answer would be yes.
Yes. And how did you know that answer was yes?
Because where it says status, it says civil claim paid.
Excellent. Let's give this group a round of applause. They even pointed out a miscue on experience points, so they get bonus points on that group. All right, so let's just talk about public record for a second. Before you get nervous about unpaid parking tickets, they're not in this section. They're not on your report. What you're going to see in personal information, y'all, in public record on your credit report is anything that's negative, that is financial, that goes through the court system. So do we have any guesses on what type of things you might see there? Child support sometimes. We do see that sometimes. Good. Good. A civil claim. That's what this is. That's also, does anybody know the other word for that? Starts with a J. Judgment. Judgment. So, and if you're not familiar with a judgment, that's when somebody sues you for financial reasons. Okay, so that would be in this section. Good. Foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, state tax liens. Those are all going to be in the public record section. So negative, financial, goes through the courts. The reason I have you go here next is if you want to buy a house or buy a car and you owe something in public record, it's got to be paid. The other reason is not only is it hurting you more to have something in public records, it's also going to stay with you longer. How long does negative information usually stay on our reports? Good, 7 years. Now, it's technically 7.5 years. They give them a 6-month window. And there are a couple of exceptions to that rule, and all those exceptions are in the public record section. What I mean by that is Chapter 7 bankruptcies, type of bankruptcy, stays on there for 10 years. State tax liens are 15 years. And judgments, like if this one hadn't been paid, could be renewed for another, it could be on there for 10 years and then renewed for another 10 years. So anything under public record is a big priority debt. We want you going there right away. C. Who would like to do C? All right, you all's hand went up right away. Let's hear from this group. There's a collection recent balance. What's the amount? Say it louder so everybody can hear.
95.
Excellent. All right, good. Is this group right? Yeah, so let's give them a round of applause. Oh, that was weak, y'all. Let's give them a real round of applause. Good, all right. So, I have you go to collection accounts next. Everybody circle, what page was that on? 8. Everybody go to page 8 at the very top. What's the name of the collection agency? Maine Collection Agency. What was the original creditor? Good, televised cable company. And by the way, I would put cable companies, medical bills, utility bills, cell phone bills, apartment complexes, all in the same category. Whereas if you're paying them on time, they don't show up on your credit report. You go late and they go to collections, boom, they're on your report and they're negative. So collection account recent balance, everybody circle on the top of page 8 where it says recent balance. Just circle that phrase, recent balance. When you're reviewing your credit report, I find the term recent balance to be the most helpful term on there. Because what it's telling you is, who do I owe the money to today? In other words, if I have a collection account that gets sold multiple times, and they can, and I see them listed on my report 4 different times, one account, I'm like, who do I owe the money to today? The one that has an amount next to recent balance. Does that make sense? Are there any questions about anything we've talked about so far? Is your hand up? All right, talk to me. Yeah. Where do you see 7984? All right, so look, I got that question from a couple people. So if you look further down on page 8, it says accounts in good standing. Would that be a collection account? No. So that's a recent balance, but that's a car loan that's in good standing. This is your collection account. Got it? Good. Thank you for asking that. Any other questions? That's all right. Dig deeper, right, if you don't understand. D, what are the 2 types of credit accounts? Which group would like to answer this one? Please, your hand went up right away. All right, let's hear it. What are the 2 types? Revolving and installment. Is this group right? I didn't get feedback. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Is this group right? Yes. Let's give them a round of applause. So I'm going to split the group in half right now. This side of the room, you guys are installment loans. This side of the room, you guys are revolving loans. Here's the difference. When you see them on your credit report, installment loans work this way. We get a lump sum of money, and then we pay it off in monthly installments. Fixed interest rate, fixed time period. It's just every month we got that payment due. What type of loans work that way? Car loans, good. Homes, mortgages, good. Business loans, personal loans, student loans, all work that way. The opposite of an installment loan are revolving loans. Revolving loans, I get a line of credit. If I use it, I can pay it off and use it again. It revolves. It comes back to me, right? A revolving loan. What type of loans work that way? Credit cards, department store cards, gas credit cards. These are typically revolving loans. Good. The last one. Who would like to answer the inquiries that affect our score? Ooh, we found one to stump the group. All right, thank you. All right, so excellent. Let's hear from this group back here. Which inquiries affect? Excellent. All right, so what page are you on, sir?
What page is that on?
Yeah, what page is that on?
7. I don't know. I didn't write that one down.
Oh, that's all right. Sorry. Let's go back here. Help them out, y'all. What page? Page 9.
I got bad information.
No, you got it right. This group got it. Now, let's be specific about this report, though, because each one of the credit report agencies call them something else. And believe it or not, I get more questions about the inquiry section than just about any other section. The inquiry section on Experian is broken into requests viewed by others and requests viewed only by you. To this group's point, which one are you initiating? What's Experian calling them? Is it requests viewed by others or only by you? Take a second. It's not both. Okay, so at the top of the page, you see requests viewed by others. At the bottom of the page, you see requests viewed only by you. Which one, to this group's point, which they got it right, it said which one did they initiate? Which one did they initiate? Viewed by others or viewed only by you? By others. Everybody got that? All right, pat yourself on the back. Everybody in here has now reviewed at least one credit report, right? Are there any questions? So, let me say this as a finishing thought about inquiries. You may pull your credit report and you haven't applied for a new loan in years. And you may have 3 pages of inquiries on your credit report. And you're like, what's up with this? I see there should be no inquiries viewed by others, and there aren't. But there are 3 pages of inquiries reviewed only by me. What's happened is, and the way you could know this is if you get, does anybody get pre-approved offers in the mail? Okay, so I at least want you to shred them. But let me say this about those. Those folks, those companies, if you don't do business with them, are electronically reviewing your credit report without your permission. A lot of people don't like that. If you don't like that, don't get upset. You can go to a website, and the website is on page 6 in your packet. at the very bottom. And that website is optoutprescreen.com. It's in that bottom paragraph. This takes you about 2 minutes. You enter some information and it opts you out by address. So if you move, you have to do it again. And by person in your household. So if you share a household with somebody else, you go there. They have to do it, you have to do it. It's good for 5 years. Now if you're living in your dream house and you're like, I don't ever want to get junk mail like this again, you can opt out online and then print it out, mail it in, and it opts you out forever. Y'all, if you miss that junk mail, you can always opt back in. It takes about a month to kick in. Are there any questions about how to opt out or any of the things on the credit report? Everybody got it? Is that a pretty cool tool? Opt out pre-screen? Feel good? All right, good. So what do we do if we find we get our credit report and it's got errors on it? It's got a name that's not us. It's got an address that's not us. It's got errors. Well, the first thing you can do, they made it easier on us, y'all. On page 6, well, right off the bat now, when you are online, let's say you're on Experian's report and they've misspelled your name, you can put dispute item, and you can start that process online. Some of the times they won't let you start it online. They'll say, no, we need more information. You also have the phone number. Everybody's got it on page 6. To Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You can call them directly. They have an automated phone system that will help you with disputes. The third thing, though, a lot of people like the paper copy, right? The paper trail. So if you like that, the first thing you're going to do is print off a copy of your report and circle any errors you see in big red marker. Because what does a red mark mean on your paper? Wrong, error, right? So you're going to circle that so whoever's reviewing it can see it. The next thing you're going to do is write a letter. Well, the nice thing, y'all, is if you turn to the back of your packet and turn 3 pages in, we have written a letter for you. Now, if you have errors on Experian and TransUnion and Equifax, you need to make copies of these and write 3 different letters. It looks like this. Looks like a letter because it is a letter. Everybody see it? So this is your sample. This is your dispute letter. So you can make a copy, and what you would do is fill in your information, highlight any of the wrong things on it, and then we quote the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You put your information on it. You sign it. You put a copy of your credit report in there with the errors highlighted, and you send it certified mail, signed receipt requested, because by law, they have 30 days to respond to your dispute. If you don't hear from them, you're going to follow up with them, but you want to know when they sign for it because that's when the clock starts ticking. That's when the 30 days starts ticking. So, are there any questions about how to dispute errors on your report? We used to get the question, hey, I've got a dispute with an old cell phone bill. They're saying I owe them $200. I know I paid it. I got proof that I paid it. It's on my credit report that I owe them $200. In that case, I want you to dispute it with the credit reporting agency, but at the same time, I want you to dispute it with the original creditor. So in that example, I'd want you to go back to the cell phone company as well. Because what they're going to do, y'all, is communicate with each other, and you want to make sure that you're talking to both sides. All right? Everybody feel comfortable and confident that they could dispute an error on their report? Got 3 ways you can do it: online, over the phone, or hard copy. We'll try to make it easy on you. No questions? All right, good. So what goes into the magical 3-digit credit score? And by the way, did anybody see the credit score on John Q. Consumer's report? No. It's not, you know why you didn't see it? Because it's not on there. Look, everybody's looking back through. It's okay. So the reason it's not on there is the federal government says you have the right to see all 3 credit reports every year for free, but you have to pay for your score. Now, I don't like that, but that's the way it is. Let me say this. If you are the only time I want you to pay for your score, and it's not cheap, y'all, you get your real FICO score from myfico.com. It's $30 per score. I don't want anybody paying for that unless you're about to buy something. Let's say you're about to buy a car. Well, if you know your credit score and you're about to buy a car, that allows you to shop around. You can pick up the phone, call the car dealer, Speak to the financing department. Ask what kind of rate they would give you with that score on that car. You can call your bank. Ask them the same thing. You can call your credit union. Ask them the same thing. And then you choose who has the lowest rate and go with that provider. Now, are they going to take your word for it that your score is XYZ? No, they're going to want to pull it themselves and get details. But you didn't have to go through that process with all three entities. So the only time I want you to pay for your score is when you're about to buy something, because it allows you to comparative shop. Otherwise, knowing your credit score on a random November day in 2016 either makes you feel better about yourself or worse about yourself for no good reason. And if you're just dying to know, I wonder what kind of range am I in, you can go to creditkarma.com, enter some basic information, and it'll give you a credit estimator score. Everybody call it estimate, right? What I mean by that is studies have shown that your real FICO score is 40 to 80 points, either direction, off of your Credit Karma score. So that friend you've got that's like, Credit Karma's the best. I know my score went up 3 points this month. Burst their bubble. Say, you know your actual score is about 40 to 80 points, either direction off that report score. They probably won't talk to you after that, but that's okay. You share some information with them. It's true. It's true. So if you're just dying to know what kind of range you're in, I'm fine using Credit Karma, but please don't tattoo that on your arm as your credit score. Okay? I hope nobody did that. All right, so what goes into the scoring model? We talked about what's in the report. By the way, the only thing that goes into the score is the stuff on the report. So it's really important to focus on the information on the report because that's what's feeding into the score. Remember, they're not looking at how much money you make. The number one thing in your credit score is your payment history. That makes up 35% of your credit score. So people ask me all the time, what's the key, right? Everybody wants to know, what's the one thing I can do to improve my score right away? Well, you can borrow money and pay it back on time. So, and when I say that to people, they look at me exactly how y'all are. Like, man, that's the most boring thing you've said all morning. Well, I apologize, but it's the truth. So if you want to improve your credit score, borrow money and pay it back on time. The second most important thing you can do is pay down, reduce your debts, but then have available credit. And that makes up about 30% of your credit score. So 2 tips there. One thing, pay on time. The second thing is on your revolving accounts, get those down below 30% of your available credit. Let me say that one again. Get those below 30% of your available credit. So that $300 credit line I mentioned at the beginning, the Wells Fargo credit card, I was having everybody over my house. Y'all remember that? If I'm at $299.99, I need to work down and get that below and keep it below $90. That's 30% of that credit line. Doing that will improve my score. Now, some people are like, man, I'm already at 99%. It's going to take me months to get down to 30%. That's okay. As you're doing that and paying on time, your score, as you're paying your debt down, your score is going up. Those 2 things make up 65% of your score. These other 3 things are important, but they're not as impactful. Length of credit history. A lot of young people in the room. What I tell young people is, when you borrow money, do your homework up front and keep the same creditors for a long period of time. That's going to improve your length of credit history. And then don't do any balance transfers because that's going to shorten your average length of credit history. The next thing is new applications for credit. This would be like if I go to the department store today. Anybody going to go to the department store during the holiday season? What do they always ask you when you check out? Right. You want to open a credit card, use a department store card, you can save 15% today, you got to do it. What a great deal. Well, that saying yes on that is an inquiry you initiated, and it's going to lower your credit score. The last thing, remember I talked about revolving and installment? You need to have a balance between the 2. But please don't hear me say, you know, I've got a student loan and a car loan, so I better run out and get 2 credit cards to balance it out. It's not how much credit you got, it's how much you use it. Question, please. I love it. Yeah, so you heard me say the department store is going to lower it if you do it. If you go to, are you asking if annualcreditreport.com has any impact on your score?
No, I'm saying like if I go to like a credit store and they deny me my credit.
Yeah. That's a negative right off the bat. That's going to lower my score. You shouldn't do that unless it's part of your, did everybody hear a question? Going to the department store, I was always told that when I pull my credit, it's a negative. Is that right? Is that right? Saying yes at the department store, the example I just gave, what do y'all think? Raise your hand if you think it's a positive, that you think it helps your score. Okay, couple people. Raise your hand if you think going to a department store today and saying yes, letting them apply, applying for credit is going to help your score. All right, so either way, that inquiry itself, just by itself, is going to lower your score. But the point that was brought up in the back is it kind of depends. If that's your only line of credit, and whether you get approved or not, it's still going to lower it. But let's say that's your only line of credit. Then you've just borrowed money. Whether you realize it or not, you've just borrowed money, and what you need to do is use that line of credit once a month and pay it off. Don't ever go above 30%. Keep that same creditor. So if I say, wow, you should go home and you should never apply for credit again, you might be sitting there going, well, how can I get a payment history? Right, you have to apply for it in order to do it, just make sure it's part of your overall credit plan, which leads us to the next point. I promise I didn't plant her here, y'all, to make us to the next point, but she did. Thank you. We find that folks are in one of three categories when it comes to credit. We got about 5 minutes. So we got one of three categories with credit. The first category is some people just need to manage the credit they've got. They've got active lines of credit. They need to make sure they're paying on time. They need to reduce those revolving loans, those credit cards, get them down but below 30% of the available credit. They need to keep the same creditors for a long period of time. And they don't need any new inquiries. Does that make sense, how to manage credit if you've got it? Good, one person, excellent. All right. So, and by the way, creditors, I'm not talking about finance companies, y'all. I'm talking about mainstream financial institutions. I know finance companies, rent-to-own places say, come use us, we'll help build up your credit. Having them on there is a negative. So you want mainstream financial institutions. Some people need to build credit from scratch. We find a lot of people that are either young or, what would you call them? They call them credit invisibles or having a thin credit file. But really what it is a lot of people pay cash for everything their whole life. Good money managers on time with everything, but they've never borrowed money. If you need to build credit, you need to start where you have a financial relationship. So you need to get some money saved up in a bank account, whether it's a credit union account or a bank account. And then you need to borrow that money. It is your own money. So let me say that again. You can borrow it in two ways. The first way is an installment loan. The second way is a revolving loan. You could get a secured credit card and a secured installment loan and pay on those for 1 year, for 12 months. On time. Don't go above 30% on the revolving loan, and you will see your credit improve to where you can do things like buying a car, buying a house, depending on what else is going on with your finances. Does that make sense? So that's how you would start if you wanted to build credit from scratch. But what if I got to rebuild credit? Rebuild credit means I've got some negatives on there. I've got some old debts. So the first thing I got to do is exactly what the build credit folks got to do. I need to establish lines and pay them on time. But I got one extra step. I've also got to pay off the old debts. Does that make sense? So think about where you are in your credit situation, whether it's building credit, rebuilding credit, or managing credit, and take some of these tips with you. And what I want you to do is write down on the front of your packet, I want you to write down two things. The first thing I want you to write down is one thing. That's good. That's give me the 2-minute warning. So the first thing I want you to write down is one thing you have learned in today's workshop. So if you got classes this afternoon, you sit down with somebody and they're like, hey, I meant to go to that credit workshop. How was it? What's one thing you're going to tell them? What's one thing you learned? Write it down. Write it down. Good, good. The second thing I want you to write down is one thing you are going to do to improve your credit. So the first thing is one thing you learn. The second thing is one thing you're going to do. As long as Jamie reports to the credit reporting agency and you pay it on time, I'm fine with that. Okay, good. So one thing you learn and one thing you're going to do. So while people are writing, somebody shout out. Somebody share something they learned or something they're going to do. Give me either or. Good. What to look for in your credit report. Good. What else? Say it again. Good. Good. And the other thing I'll tell you, that voucher I gave you at the beginning, we can give you your real FICO score for free. It's just a perk coming to see us. What else? Give me a couple, two more. Good, yes. Do not get your credit estimate tattooed. All right, let's hear it from this side of the group. Somebody over here. Oh, that is not what you're supposed to do. No, I'm just kidding. And that depends on your financial situation, right? Right? That depends on your financial situation. So you may want to use that voucher first before you say yes. All right, good. So let's pull our clickers back out. And let's see what we learned. Your credit score includes your income, your debit card, your available credit, or all the above. Remember, this is one I tricked you on before. I won't trick you. I'm not going to trick you again. Who wants this extra clicker? We had somebody that had to leave. Here, you guys share that clicker. All right, we're waiting on 4 different folks or groups to click in. Don't be shy. We got 1 group left. Go ahead and click it. Did anybody leave behind a clicker? All right, we got everybody. Let's see how we did. All right. We only have 15% of the group snoozing. The correct answer is available credit. That is correct. Credit does not affect savings rates, insurance premiums, renting, or employment. All right, y'all are clicking faster. Hopefully that's a good sign. Let's see how we did. 95%. All right, only 1 person snoozing on that one. All right, now the pressure's on. With this one, I'll let this be open book. You can look at page 6 if you need the answer to this one. And this one you can tattoo on your arm, okay? All right, we're waiting on 1 response. Hey, 100%. Y'all know what that's called? An A. Good. So if you need us for any of these sessions, we're happy to help. Again, our number is on your pen and on the voucher. If you'll just pass the clickers down front, we're done. Thanks, everybody.